Hey, this is Liana with the first hands-on preview for Total War Warhammer 3. We're going to be playing as the nation of Kislev going up against the Demons of Khorne. And this is actually a brand new battle type for the series. It's called a survival battle, and our objective here is basically we're going to have to take a series of 3 control points and then hold them by spending special resources to put up things like barricades and towers and stuff. We'll get combat benefits if we can hold all 3. You don't necessarily have to hold all 3 to finish the mission. And fight off waves of enemies, and when we beat enough of them, this firewall is going to come down and we can progress deeper into the realm of chaos until finally there's a big boss fight at the end. And these are going to be big story moments that kind of move the story of the campaign along. So Kislev is one of the 2 new human factions coming in Warhammer 3, and they kind of have 2 main things. One of them is they have very strong shot cavalry, these winged lancers, and then also they have bear cavalry that I'll show you a little bit later once we get some, led by Katarina, the Tsarina here, or Katarin, the Tsarina here, who is, she's like an ice wizard. She has some really cool powers for slowing down units, stealing damage, buffing her own unit's defense. And then their sort of infantry theme is that they have a lot of good hybrid infantry. So what that means is that they have a lot of ranged infantry that can fight pretty good, and then they also have some more melee-focused infantry that can shoot pretty good. So these Kossars are kind of their default frontline unit. They're basically just really tough archers. All Kislev units also have a special ability called By Our Blood that makes them fight harder when they have lost 50% of their units. So it's very much in line with this like desperate defense idea. Whereas the Demons of Khorne, these are bloodletters, which are like, if you're going to run into a Demon of Khorne, this is probably the one you want to run into. The other ones are even scarier and even worse, and yeah, they work similar to how undead units work in Warhammer 1 and 2, where they don't necessarily have morale, but they will start to dissipate, basically, once they've taken enough damage. They cause fear and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to charge up this hill here to try to take the first control point. This was actually kind of a dumb move on my part, charging my best cavalry units uphill into infantry. I took more losses than I probably should have. I got to play this battle a couple of times, and by the second or third time, I knew what I was doing much more. It's definitely an adjustment over a typical Warhammer battle, but I also really like that they're varying up the objectives and giving us new things to do and things like that. We got our Tsar Guard coming in here. Those are kind of your tanky frontline anvil units. If you think about the hammer and anvil of you want to pin them down and then hit them from the flanks or from behind in a typical Total War battle. That's kind of what Tsar Guard are for here. So yeah, one of these icons I think gives a morale buff, if I remember right, and one of them gives an attack buff, and one of them gives a defense buff. So as we progress further in the map, the waves of demons will keep spawning to attack this first control point. So we're going to need to keep building towers, keep building barricades, and even leave a detachment of units back here as kind of a rear guard as well. Otherwise, we'll lose that bonus, and then, that wave of demons will just keep rolling on along to the second control point. So while you can kind of rush to the end once the boss appears, for most of the battle, it seemed like you kind of need to hold all 3 points. If only because, you've got those towers dealing extra damage to the incoming waves of demons. The developers said, yeah, you don't necessarily have to hold all 3, but I found that it was generally the best idea to hold all 3. So the resources we've got, if you look up at the very top middle of the screen there, across from where the clock is, when this cutscene ends, they'll be competing between building static defenses and also calling in reinforcements, which is kind of an interesting thing to balance. It was a little overwhelming at first. I assume once we've played more of these battles, it'll kind of come a little bit more naturally, but since it's just so different from how Total War normally goes, it definitely felt like a scramble, which I guess, you know, in Warhammer lore, if you're literally invading the realm of chaos, it kind of makes sense that it would feel a little bit frantic. So this is going to jump a little bit ahead here to when I have this position pretty well entrenched. I've got my guys on good terrain, I've got my towers upgraded, I've got some barricades up, and we're about to finish off this first wave of attackers that is coming in here, and that will allow us to progress a little bit further in. You're also going to be able to play this mode co-op, so you can bring one of your friends in here and defend and attack the Realm of Chaos together. This won't just be for the human factions either, Kislev and Cathay. The demon factions will also get to participate in these battles because, I mean, they didn't want to spoil too much about the story, but the implication I got is, you know, the Chaos Gods don't necessarily get along in Warhammer lore, so they might be invading each other's areas at some point. So I mentioned Bear Cavalry earlier. This is one of our hero units, and then I'll show off just the regular Bear Cavalry as well, but yeah, definitely one of the coolest things about Kislev is the fact that you can attack with bears. The Kislevites, they protect and they attack. The Kossars do a lot of the protect part, and then the Bear Cavalry and the Winged Hussars do a lot of the attack part of that equation here. Pretty scary invading the demon realm, but when you have guys like mounted on polar bears with giant lances, kind of makes you feel a little bit better about our chances. I can't wait to take these guys into all kinds of matchups against all the other Total War Warhammer factions as well. And so this is when we've reached the very end here, and Khorne is going to call in an Exalted Bloodthirster, one of his most powerful demons, to try to make like a last-ditch attempt to stop us. This guy's mean. He can tank artillery shots to the face. Just really tough, really powerful enemy, and spoilers, he kind of kicked my ass. I'm not going to show you all the way to the end where I kind of, my offense kind of pathetically whimpered out. As you can see here, I wasn't even able to hold the first control point, so at this point I'm getting attacked from both sides. I wasn't quite familiar with the army play style yet, or with the battle mechanics yet, so yeah, this one I'm pretty happy that I got this far. Yeah, I'll be back, Khorne. I'll be back. So that'll do it for our first hands-on preview of Total War Warhammer 3, which is out later this year. For more on Total War Warhammer 3, keep it right here on IGN.